Hi, it's Steve, and I am here with Chris Worrell. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, sir.
Chris, please tell us your story about your fight for freedom, and what freedom means to you.
Uh, what freedom means to me is that's a tough one to put just in a few words. Freedom means to me is what we don't have anymore. We're not able to speak. We're not able to share our opinions. We're not able to make decisions anymore without public and also now government ridicule and punishment. So what freedom means to me is we should be free of all that. I should be able to tell Steve my opinion and Steve tell me his opinion. And regardless of whether or not we like each other's opinion, there doesn't need to be dissension and a fight between us. The respect is respect has been washed out of our society. Um, people's Today, people's opinion of respect is you'll accept my opinion and what I say, or you're not being respectful. And that's not what respect, how that word should be defined. Respect is, and I think respect is also gone from our day to day because there is no God anymore in too many people's lives. I mean, we're sitting here in 2023, and I like to tell the story of how I saw in my mid-teens. I come from a very small community, not even 700 people in our school, pre-K through 12. Everybody knew everybody. And I watched in the 80s as our neighbors, we were no longer neighbors. Uh, and and that's when we started leaving God out of our lives, as a whole. Uh, so that's where I think our country really went wrong. I mean, it was a lot wrong still before that, but the fact that society, I mean, look, our own government's doing it, and right to our faces. There's no more in God we trust. Um, I use some good examples. You can pull out some quarters if you want to and look at some of the markings now. And in God we trust used to be in front of the face of the quarter, is now behind its head. I mean, and people can make a mockery of that if they want, but that is exactly what our government has been doing since at least 2008. Before that, really, but it kicked off in 2008 during Obama's fraudulent presidency. Um, and so that's where our problems started. Um,
What role does
my
God play in your life today?
he is, I don't know that I'd be here. I was born and raised in a Catholic family. Um, my mom and dad divorced when I was young, but my grandmother, my dad's mom, and my dad's sister, so my grandmother, my aunt, kept the family together. And my grandma, when she was alive, when she always took us to church, and um, my aunt continued that a little bit after my grandma passed, but she even stopped going to church before I graduated high school, and then I was never too keen about the Roman Catholic Church, and something just never seemed right to me. But I knew God was real. There was never a question of that. But through this, and so I kind of walked away from God a little bit in my life for too long. I didn't pray. I didn't. There were times I did, but there was no real. Um, I really didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So during after I was arrested here, March 12th, for being in DC, January 6th, um, something very spiritual did happen, because when I arrived at Northern Neck Regional Jail, after I was transferred across the country by the marshals, a great thing happening. There was 6 or 7 of us in Northern Neck together that were part of January 6th. And they were having Bible studies in there, and every night we prayed for bed together. And some of the other prisoners that were in there did too. And that really saved me. Then from there, we all showed up at DC on April 13th, and it continued in the DC jail amongst us guys. We had a pod of just January 6ers. There was 44 of us at one point in there. And we were, during our free time, we would get together, have little Bible studies and pray. And so Jesus Christ is extremely integral for me and important. And even my wife, Trish, she was never brought through church, and that as a kid, she doesn't know anything about God, and brought her into the church, and that, and wow, I mean, it's been very awesome watching her transform and me transform, because I am no doubt a different man than I was before. I still have work to do. Oh, we all need work daily. But that's how important God is to me. I don't know. I don't think I could go without him.
What do you pray for?
I pray for forgiveness, because I know I'm not perfect. I pray for God's grace to be spread, not just in this country, but the world. And I think we can all agree we've seen the world come to God more than ever in my lifetime anyway, and I'm 52. But I pray for healing. I just pray that everybody would just become what God wanted for us all. And he doesn't want us to be violent, and he doesn't want us to fight amongst each other. He wants us to unify. And that's always the basis of my speeches when I've spoken, is united we stand, but united we stand with God. So I mean, that's what I pray. I pray from others more than I do myself. Lately, I've been praying for God to show me, I mean, show me what he wants, show me what this path is he has for me, give me some kind of glimmer. And and God, look, God shows us all our answers all the time to what we pray for. But it's hard to see. And that's the sin of the flesh that's in us, because the flesh always comes first in our minds and instead of the spirit. But that's what I pray for regularly, and
Do you have
I'll
hope?
continue. I do have hope, and faith is pretty much all I do have.
How is God going to help you in the next few weeks, do you think?
Well, I know he's there with me. As far as that true answer to that question, I say that God has shown me the way, he's given me his word, and I'll continue to read it. But I think God leaves our paths up to us. We just have to trust in his words and use his words in what we do, and in our day to day, and in our moments of anguish and our moments of joy. Even just try to rely on his word. And it's kind of interesting lately that it seems the words that are coming to me lately, we get the verse of the day or something like that. And at first I thought, God, it's just coincidence, this verse, it's too it's too appropriate, but there is no coincidences with God. And I've learned that. And I take, the verses that are passed to me by people, or just random scroll, looking at something, and somebody posted a verse, or there's a verse here. And I've learned that there's definitely no coincidence. God is real. God is alive. Um, and that's the one thing that I've learned recently, that people need to learn, that this is God's book is the living word. There's nothing dead about the words in the Bible and the words from God and Jesus Christ, what they wanted for us. It's very alive. So that's part of my hope right there, is where a lot of my hope derives from. Is
You mentioned that you are kind of a work in progress, as we all are, and you're a different man now than you were. How do you see yourself being different in a year from now?
probably a lot more broken. Um,
Tell me why you think that will take place.
well, my spirit hopefully won't be broken, and I'll do a lot to make sure I don't let my spirit get broken. I'll try every day, but I don't know. I have a fear. I have a great fear of death in this. Um, for those that you don't know, Steve, maybe, but for the 240 days I was in government custody, I had doctors tell me my doctors weren't qualified. They denied me cancer meds. They refused to treat me, and got caught eventually took 9 times of going through court, but eventually Judge Lambert saw it and held the jail and the Department of Corrections director of DC in contempt because they got caught lying and deleting medical records on me. And so I have a great fear that I'm about to go back into this custody, but I'm scared for my life. And I don't understand. There's no reason why I should be, or any man or woman in a jail or a prison should never have to fear for their life. Our innocence or guilt should not change the humanitarian and moral compass of people. But I watched how we were attacked in there physically. Many of us were denied medical care, many of us. And, you know, it was political persecution and it was alive in there. And, you know, the judge even got mad at me because last April I spoke in front of my commissioners and called myself a political prisoner here in Collier County. And he got angry with me over that. And then gave me house arrest. I was no longer allowed to leave the house except for my medical church for a long time. And then I explained to him in a letter to the court, and I said, you know, I didn't give myself this title. The jail in DC did. They made sure every day they told us, you're here because of Donald Trump. You're here because of your politics. And we're going to remind you of that. And they did. They consistently punished us and pepper sprayed us in cells, messed with our food consistently, denied medical. I mean, it was the most horrific display of humanitarianism that I ever witnessed in my life. And I knew people were evil, and I knew people could do some evil things. But I always saw that on an individual basis. And now here I am in a facility, and it's not an individual basis. The individual is rare in there that was trying to do right for us. And the majority wanted to literally see us dead. So that's where I stand in this. I don't feel I'll ever come home alive.
This tale will be heard by many people in many generations. What do you want people 100 years from now to learn from it? What is the moral of the story of your life?
Be part of your community, be neighborly, love one another as God wanted for us, as He loved us and loves us. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that I'm by no means a perfect man, but I've seen people. I mean, through this. I mean, of course, we've all looked for donations to help during this, and I've had other brothers in this and sisters that I couldn't sit there. And yes, I needed money to make, you know, my medical treatments at home have been out of pocket for the majority. And yeah, I needed the money, but I sacrificed and had to give to some people because they were, my brother Jimmy up in Sarasota, he's got a wife and a couple of young kids, and he's experiencing cancel culture up that way. The liberals are alive and well in the Sarasota, Hillsborough, Pinellas County area of Florida. So they've canceled him out. He can't even get a job. Um, he was cleaning Airbnbs for work at one point. They canceled him out. So when I see the women and the children that are suffering in this, that it breaks my heart, it almost breaks my spirit. I get mad. I go through these phases of anger, sadness, and I have to curb my anger because I want to lash out. And I realize that that's not the way to do it. But I mean, I just want peace. There's no reason why we can't have peace.
I can't think of a more noble message, Chris, to deliver from somebody in your position, from somebody in any position of suffering. My last question is going to be, you mentioned that you learned the text, you learn religious texts. Can you identify with any figure in the Bible who perhaps had similar suffering, similar trials? And do you gain any strength from that story?
Oh, there's multiple stories in the Bible of, you got Job and, pardon me, sometimes I'll have some on the tip of my tongue and then I lose it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stories in the Bible. I mean, men were jailed, um, Job swallowed by the whale and spit out. And the Bible doesn't describe the pain and the suffering that too much that Job really went through, other than what he was there for. But no man is ever down and out totally until your last breath. So what I try to tell people is fight for what you know is right. Make sure it's right. Fight for it. And almost at all cost, almost. I mean, depending on the fight, there are some fights that are out there that it is at all cost. And I mean, that's where I feel like I am right now. I've only got days left. And I'm not supposed to be speaking to media. I'm not supposed to be on the internet. And they gave all these rules for me when I came home because, but they can go around and tell whatever tales they want and spew whatever they want. And I'm not allowed to defend myself. Well, I decided last week and said, that's it. My gloves are off. You're going to penalize me? So be it. But what they can't say in their penalty is that Chris stood up there somewhere and spoke here for hours and lied. They can't say that. So if they want to punish me over the truth, then I guess I'll bear that cross.
Well, Chris, okay. You've taken your stand. You've given us a gift of your story. I will assure you that the people that hear this story, the multitudes of the people that will hear this story, will gather strength from this story, and they will be ever more determined to take a stand as you have. My prayer for you is that you continue to find the strength every day that you need, because there is no doubt that God has been giving you that strength and will continue to do so. And you will find the peace that you need. There is no doubt in my mind. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Steve.